Hi there, welcome back. My name's Joe, and today we're diving into a case that's equal parts baffling and haunting. Our story takes place in Massachusetts, a state steeped in history and marked by contrasts. With a population of approximately 6.4 million in 2004, Massachusetts is known for its rich colonial history, academic excellence, and cultural landmarks. It is home to iconic cities like Boston, where innovation and tradition intertwine, and picturesque rural towns like Hampshire. The state's varied geography includes bustling urban centers, tranquil countryside, and coastal beauty, offering a mix of opportunities and challenges. Known as the birthplace of the American Revolution, Massachusetts boasts a rich cultural and educational legacy, home to some of the world's most prestigious institutions like Harvard and MIT. Its diverse communities reflect both historical pride and modern progress, drawing people from across the globe. Yet beneath its reputation for academic excellence and historical charm, the state has faced its share of challenges. In 2004, Massachusetts reported a violent crime rate of 391 incidents per 100,000 residents, slightly higher than the national average. Property crimes, including thefts and burglaries, were more prevalent, reflecting the dualities of urban and rural life within the state. This backdrop of highs and lows serves as the setting for today's case, the disappearance of Maura Murray, a story that continues to mystify and raise questions to this day. This is a story filled with strange events, conflicting theories, and endless speculation. Buckle up, folks, because we're going deep. Our story starts in February 2004. Maura Murray was a 21-year-old nursing student at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. She was smart, athletic, and by all accounts, a driven young woman with a bright future ahead of her. But behind that picture-perfect facade, cracks were beginning to show. Maura grew up in Hampshire, Massachusetts, as the fourth of 5 siblings. She was close with her family, especially her father, Fred. In high school, she was a star athlete, excelling in cross-country and track. Her dedication earned her a spot at West Point, one of the most prestigious military academies in the United States. West Point wasn't just a school, it was a rigorous test of discipline and resilience. Maura's acceptance was a reflection of her drive, but her time there wasn't without hurdles. At West Point, Maura excelled in physical training and academics early on, but as the semesters wore on, the pressures began to mount. The academy's intense environment, combined with personal challenges, became overwhelming. A turning point came when Maura was implicated in a minor incident involving a violation of academy rules. Though it wasn't severe, it marked a pivotal moment in her life. Rather than continuing at West Point, Maura chose to leave and pursue a different path, one she hoped would bring her fulfillment. Her decision to transfer to UMass Amherst to study nursing was a fresh start. Nursing was a natural fit for someone like Maura. Compassionate, determined, and disciplined. At UMass, she worked part-time as a campus security officer, balancing her studies and job with what appeared to be ease. But appearances can be deceiving. Behind the scenes, Maura faced mounting stress. In a moment of poor judgment, she used a stolen credit card to buy food. Though the incident resulted in a misdemeanor charge, it weighed heavily on her, adding to the pressures of her studies and personal life. Friends later recalled that Maura seemed to carry a quiet burden, as if the weight of expectations, her own and others, was becoming too much to bear. On the evening of February 5th, 2004, Maura was working her shift at the campus security desk when something unusual happened. A phone call left her visibly upset and shaken, to the point where her supervisor sent her home early. To this day, the content of that phone call remains a mystery. Some speculate it was related to her personal life, perhaps involving her boyfriend, Billy, or a family matter. Others believe it could have been entirely unrelated, but impactful enough to rattle her. The following weekend, Maura borrowed her father's car to go shopping. What should have been a routine errand turned into a disaster when she crashed the car into a guardrail. Though Maura wasn't injured, the accident left her shaken. She apologized profusely to her father and promised to take responsibility for the damages. Fred later recounted that she seemed deeply upset, as if the incident symbolized something larger than a simple car crash. As the days leading to February 9th unfolded, Maura's actions suggested a deeper struggle, culminating in a series of choices that led her to Route 112 that fateful night. By Monday, February 9th, Maura's behavior took an even more puzzling turn. That morning, she emailed her professors and work supervisor, claiming she'd be out of town for a family emergency. However, no such emergency existed. Later that day, she searched online for directions to the White Mountains in New Hampshire, a region she was familiar with from past family trips. She also looked up accommodations in the area, but didn't make any reservations. What was her plan? Was this a spontaneous decision or something she had been considering for days, maybe even weeks? That afternoon, Maura packed her belongings. She took clothes, toiletries, textbooks, and items that suggested she wasn't planning to return immediately, but also wasn't preparing for a permanent disappearance. Among her packed items were personal mementos, like a stuffed animal her boyfriend had given her. The inclusion of these items raises questions. Was this a planned trip to clear her mind, or was it something more final? Let's dive into the events of February 9th in detail, particularly the crash site and the moments leading up to Maura's disappearance. After Maura packed her belongings, she began the drive north toward the White Mountains, a journey that would take her through remote stretches of New Hampshire. What is known about this drive is pieced together from bank transactions, cell phone pings, and witness sightings. At approximately 3:30 p.m., Maura withdrew $280 from an ATM near UMass Amherst. Surveillance footage captured her wearing a dark jacket and appearing calm, though some have debated whether her demeanor showed signs of distress. Following this, she stopped at a local liquor store and purchased a variety of alcohol, including Bailey's Irish Cream, Kahlua, and a box of wine. These purchases suggest she planned for an extended stay rather than a short outing. By 4:37 p.m., Maura had called a rental property in Bartlett, New Hampshire, but the call lasted less than a minute and resulted in no booking. Investigators speculate this call indicates her intended destination. Her cell phone records also show a call to her boyfriend, Billy, around this time, though details of their conversation remain unclear. As daylight faded, Maura's black satin sedan traveled deeper into the rural roads of New Hampshire. At approximately 7:27 p.m., her car struck a snowbank on Route 112 in Haverhill. The impact caused significant damage to the front end of the vehicle, rendering it inoperable. A nearby resident, hearing the collision, called 911 to report the accident. This was at 7:29 p.m. Shortly after, Butch Atwood, a school bus driver who lived nearby, encountered Maura standing by her vehicle. According to Atwood, she appeared uninjured but cold and shaken. He offered to call for help, but Maura declined, insisting she had already contacted roadside assistance. This statement later proved to be untrue, as no such call was made. Atwood observed Maura for a few moments before leaving the scene to park his bus at his home, located less than 100 yards away. Atwood's timeline is critical, as he reported seeing Maura until approximately 7:37 p.m. By the time police arrived at 7:46 p.m., she was gone, vanished without a trace. Her car was locked, with the doors closed and the hazard lights still flashing. Inside the vehicle, police found an array of items, including her packed belongings, an open box of wine with some spilled on the interior, and a printed email indicating tension in her relationship with Billy. Outside the car, there were no footprints leading away from the scene, despite the snow on the ground. This has led many to question how Maura could have left the area so quickly. and without leaving evidence of her direction. Search dogs brought to the scene later that night picked up a brief scent trail leading about 100 yards east along Route 112, but it abruptly ended. This has fueled speculation that Maura may have been picked up by a passing vehicle. Adding to the mystery is the behavior of local law enforcement during the early hours of the investigation. Critics have pointed out that the area wasn't thoroughly cordoned off as a potential crime scene, which may have compromised evidence. Additionally, the lack of immediate follow-up on nearby residences and traffic adds another layer of complexity to an already confusing situation. The crash site itself is haunting. Nestled in the shadow of the White Mountains, Route 112 is a desolate stretch of road with few homes and even fewer streetlights. For someone unfamiliar with the area, the surroundings could easily feel isolating and overwhelming. Was Maura simply trying to escape her circumstances, or did something more sinister unfold on that remote stretch of highway? From the moment Maura was reported missing, the community rallied alongside law enforcement to locate her. Local volunteers braved the freezing temperatures, joining officers in hopes of finding any trace of Maura. The initial search involved local law enforcement, with officers combing the area around the crash site on foot and in vehicles. The harsh conditions, including freezing temperatures and rugged terrain, added urgency to their efforts. Search dogs were brought in early on, and they picked up a faint scent trail leading east along Route 112 for approximately 100 yards before it abruptly ended. This led to speculation that Maura may have been picked up by a passing vehicle, as the lack of further scent suggested she hadn't continued on foot. Over the following days, the search expanded to include helicopters equipped with infrared cameras, which scanned the nearby woods and open fields for signs of body heat. Ground search teams, some on ATVs and others on horseback, explored the dense forest and surrounding areas. Crews also investigated local rivers and streams, breaking through ice to check for any evidence beneath the surface. As days turned into weeks, the resources deployed became more sophisticated. Thermal imaging technology was used extensively in an attempt to detect any heat signatures that might indicate human presence. Volunteers joined law enforcement, forming large search parties that meticulously combed the surrounding areas. However, the rugged terrain of the White Mountains presented significant challenges. Steep ravines, dense underbrush, and hidden drop-offs made the area difficult to navigate and thoroughly search. The search radius extended as far as 10 miles from the crash site, covering potential paths Maura might have taken if she had wandered into the woods. Local cabins, abandoned structures, and even wells were investigated. Authorities reached out to residents in the area, asking them to check their properties and report anything suspicious. Despite these extensive efforts, no trace of Maura was ever found. Over the years, searches have continued periodically, often reignited by new tips or leads. In some cases, private search teams and non-profit organizations have joined the effort, utilizing updated technologies like drones and advanced sonar to explore areas previously deemed inaccessible. Yet, despite the thoroughness and persistence of these efforts, Maura's disappearance remains an enigma. Theories about Maura Murray's disappearance weave a complex and often conflicting narrative, with each possibility shedding light on a different facet of this haunting mystery. While the idea of foul play suggests a chilling scenario, others believe Maura may have taken control of her fate, intentionally disappearing from her life. These opposing narratives underscore the tangled nature of her case, each offering compelling yet incomplete explanations. One possibility is foul play. This theory suggests that Maura encountered a predator after her crash, a chilling thought that gains traction due to the remote location and the abrupt end to her scent trail. Some speculate that someone local, familiar with the area, may have seized the opportunity when they saw Maura stranded. Although witnesses reported no unusual vehicles in the vicinity, the lack of traffic on rural roads like Route 112 leaves room for theories about a lone passerby. The cover of night in such a desolate area could have easily obscured any suspicious activity from potential witnesses. Another dimension of this theory considers whether Maura may have accepted a ride from someone who appeared trustworthy, her desperation for warmth and safety overriding any caution. Tragically, such scenarios align with other documented roadside abduction cases in isolated settings. Another widely discussed possibility is that Maura planned her disappearance. This theory revolves around her apparent efforts to escape her current life. Supporters point to her packed belongings, which included personal mementos, as evidence of her intention to leave for an extended period. However, skeptics question why she would leave behind crucial resources like her car and most of her money. Some suggest Maura may have arranged to meet someone who helped her disappear, explaining the absence of footprints or evidence that she left the crash site on foot. Her internet searches for travel directions and accommodations in the White Mountains also lend weight to the idea of premeditation. Yet, the lack of significant financial preparation and no confirmed involvement of friends or family in her plans cast doubt on this theory. The idea of accidental death is another consideration. Many believe Maura might have wandered into the woods, disoriented and unprepared, and succumbed to the freezing temperatures. This theory fits with the timeline: a cold February night, the isolation of the area, and the potential for rapid hypothermia. However, extensive searches in the area failed to uncover any trace of her, raising questions about whether search teams may have missed something or if she ventured much farther than initially suspected. Critics argue that the complete absence of physical evidence, such as clothing or skeletal remains, challenges this theory, especially given the thoroughness of the searches. A more controversial theory involves Maura's father, Fred Murray. Some speculate that Fred's involvement in the events leading up to or following her disappearance might hold unexplored significance. This speculation often centers on the rag found in the car's tailpipe, a detail Fred claimed was a temporary fix for car trouble. While investigators have found no evidence implicating him, skeptics question whether the rag and other elements of the story might point to something more sinister. Fred's relentless advocacy for answers, funding private searches and investigations, contrasts sharply with this suspicion, yet it continues to spark debate. Finally, there is the possibility that Maura's disappearance is connected to other cases in the region. The White Mountains and surrounding areas are notorious for unsolved disappearances, leading some to wonder if a serial offender or a broader pattern of abductions might be at play. Comparisons are often drawn to the disappearance of Paula Jean Weldon, who vanished while hiking near Bennington, Vermont. Both cases involve young women disappearing without a trace in remote locations. Alternatively, the harsh and unforgiving terrain of the White Mountains might explain isolated incidents of accidental death, with victims remaining undiscovered due to the region's vastness and natural hazards. Each of these theories offers compelling elements, yet none provide a definitive answer. The mystery of Maura Murray's disappearance remains as perplexing today as it was the day she vanished. Then there's the ongoing dedication of her family. Fred Murray has tirelessly worked to keep Maura's case in the public eye, organizing searches and advocating for more resources. The strain on the family has been immense, with Maura's siblings expressing both hope and frustration over the years. They've faced scrutiny and speculation themselves, as is unfortunately common in high-profile cases. In 2023, another potential lead emerged when a witness came forward, claiming to have seen a young woman matching Maura's description near Bartlett, New Hampshire, days after her disappearance. The claim was investigated, but ultimately deemed inconclusive. However, it reignited interest in the possibility that Maura may have survived the initial night and traveled further than previously thought. The truth is, we don't know what happened to Maura Murray. Was she the victim of foul play, a tragic accident, or her own decisions? As time passes, the case remains one of the most enigmatic in true crime history. If you have any information about the disappearance of Maura Murray, please contact the New Hampshire Cold Case Unit. Even the smallest detail could make a difference. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most mysterious cases. Until next time, stay safe, take care of yourself, and as always, Joe out.